Last week, I posted a detailed breakdown on Warlock DPS strategies and where they land in the meta, as well as what role they play during boss fights, and you guys seemed to really like it and wanted to see similar videos for the other two classes as well. So lo and behold, today we are continuing the DPS breakdown series as I take you through the best DPS setups for hunters this time. And just like in the previous installment, I'm also going to do my best to explain how hunters fit into the DPS ecosystem as a whole, as well as what artifacts to use, which set bonuses work best, and everything in between. So without further ado, let's begin. And remember to like, subscribe, etc, etc. Okay, so hunters, your role is strictly DPS. With the warlocks, there was nuance between DPS and helping the team out with debuffs and stuff like that. Hunters, no nuance whatsoever. You are strictly DPS. You are the damager class. It is your job to deal the most damage possible, and in the process, ego your teammates after you've defeated the bosses. There are some support options that hunters have access to, such as dusk field grenades on either prismatic or stasis, and you can also make your teammates amplified with ascension, but for the most part, it is just DPS. Furthermore, despite having access to the strongest debuff option, that being Deadfall Tether, you are still doing DPS. If a warlock on your team has the balls to ask you as a hunter to go on Tether as the debuff and not them on Tractor Cannon or Fafnir or whatever, then just look at them a funny way because they don't know what they're talking about. As a hunter, you are the damage dealer. Warlocks, keep that tractor and well on, please. Furthermore, hunters are the strongest damage class right now, and they will be for the rest of time because they have the strongest exotics and they also have the strongest supers thanks to recent buffs in the past year or so. They just have all of the kit they need to do the most amount of damage possible. And actually, quickly, just to show you the difference between hunters and other classes, in terms of their one-off supers, the best one right now is Blade Barrage, and it deals, with 200 super by the way, around 31,000, 32,000 damage when we add in the ignition. So 32 damage for a Shards of Galanor Blade Barrage, and then through the power of editing, a 200 super Curus of the Falling Star Thunder Crash deals around 24,000. So for just using Shards of Galanor, which by the way also gives you half of your super back, you are dealing 10,000 more damage than your next closest competitor on another class. So yeah, hunters, you guys have it good right now. Let's just say that. And by the way, with regards to Blade Barrage, when the Monument of Triumph update came out, this actually was bugged with Shards of Galanor, where the multiple explosions that exotic now adds weren't triggering as consistently. However, this has been fixed, so now your Blade Barrages will be hitting for max damage basically all the time. So a lot of what I'm going to show you here today is going to be damage rotations. However, you don't have to do these because there are a lot of strong, just simple point and click damage options which you can use right now, such as Truth with the Catalyst preferably, or 1000 Voices with the Catalyst as well, if you would like to just kind of brain off, do some damage without even having to think about it, which are still very good. However, the options that I'm going to show you today are the sort of higher ceiling of those places where you can really take your DPS to the next level. So just wanted to let you know that if you are somebody who doesn't care as much for rotations, you can still do good damage on a hunter simply because they have such good super options and you have easy brain dead weapons like Truth and 1k which you can use as well. So no stress there, but if you want to push yourself a little bit, then please do follow along. Okay, so to start things off today with rotation number 1, we are going to be on Void Hunter, and we're going to start with Leviathan's Breath combined with the Mobius Quiver super, because context, Mobius Quiver got a change, I believe in Edge of Fate or Renegade, something like that. Basically now it improves the damage of the super itself and bow weapons when you deal damage with weapons while the super is active. It appears as a bar on the left of the screen. So as you can see here, I don't actually have to shoot the tether at Carl at all. All I need to do is deal damage while the super is active, and the bar on the left is now full, which means that I am dealing the maximum improved damage with bows while the super is active. And this is actually a 150% increase to bow damage, so 2.5 times, which is pretty good. So that is why we are pairing it with Leviathan's Breath, because this is a heavy bow, and if you are good with this rotation, you can actually get the entirety of your Leviathan's Breath reserves off while your super is active. And to help us with that, we are using Orpheus Rig. Now, Orpheus Rig is going to, number one, allow your Mobius Quiver to fire a third volley, which is nice, but it also improves the duration of the super from the base of 16 seconds to now 20 seconds instead. So we have an extra long super, and actually, you are not going to use the super for the super at all. Like you saw in the clip there, I actually shot the super away, and this is what you want to be doing. I'm not gonna lie, the damage that you get out of the super is completely inconsequential compared to that you get from Leviathan's Breath. So I actually do encourage you to shoot the super away, because a second reason, it actually interferes with other debuffs. So if somebody on your team is running Fafnir or Tractor Cannon, for example, tethering the target will actually remove that debuff, or at least I'm fairly certain it removes it, because there is some sort of conflict between these two types of debuffs. In terms of priority, you do want to keep up the Tractor or Fafnir because those debuffs can be extended by Void Weakens, as some of you might know, and the same cannot be said for Tether. So actually, please shoot your Tether away from bosses if you are doing this strategy, and then start damaging. If you wanted, you could shoot off the remaining 2 tethers, because these are going to be buffed. As you can see, they deal, well, actually that's not representative, but they'll deal a decent chunk if you want to shoot those 2 off because they are fully charged. But for the most part, I don't shoot any of my tethers when I'm doing this strategy. Another big part about this rotation, even though it's really just shooting a bow, is that we are using the Implement of Curiosity artifact, and this one has some pretty significant mods that help with the rotation's upkeep and damage as well. The first of which is going to be Argent Quiver. This one states that reloading a bow consumes 1 stack of armor charge, granting increased damage and reload speed for your next 3 shots or until you stow the bow. So this is going to be active for the majority of our reserves with Leviathan's Breath, and I believe this is a 15% damage increase to bow damage, which is pretty good. Then we are going with Semi-Auto Striker. This one states that if you have fewer than 2 stacks of armor charge, rapid precision hits with bows, snipers, and scout rifles generate an armor charge. So this is armor charge upkeep, because Argent Quiver is an armor charge consumer. So if we have an armor charge generator, then we are going to balance things out, and we will never lose our 15% damage bonus that we get from this, because we are constantly upkeeping our charges. Then we also have Shoulder to Shoulder. This is a team play mod. It says dealing sustained precision damage against combatants while near 2 or more allies grants you damage resistance. I think this is resist times 2, so it's like 25% or whatever. Just more of a team play thing if you're playing like a Cutthroat Pantheon or a Cutthroat Desert Perpetual. Very decent mod to have to help your team. But the main ones are going to be Semi-Auto Striker and Argent Quiver, and this is on the Implement of Curiosity. So speaking of sustain armor charges and so on and so on, now it's time to talk about the armor set bonuses, because they were a big part of the previous video. I recommended using the Spire of the Watcher armor because that improved precision damage by 7%. This time we are not using the Spire of the Watcher armor, we are using the full 4-piece Vault of Glass armor. As you might be able to tell by the fashion of the build, I've gone for the full 4-piece, and the reason for that is because it is a very, very strong effect. It states while you have a subclass buff, dealing sustained damage creates an Orb of Power. Now this is very, very strong because Orbs of Power, very important in the damage phase. Number one, like I just discussed, they are very good for upkeeping certain Argent perks from artifacts because they rely on orb consumption. So if you're able to make orbs, you can upkeep those for longer. This also helps with charging things like Still Hunt supers for hunters, which we will get to in a future rotation. It also helps to keep your surges up in general as well, armor charge upkeep, and to charge your super just a small amount. So the more orbs you make, the better your team is going to be overall in a given damage phase. The 2-piece is completely irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. We are mainly here for the 4-piece. And it's actually very easy to farm Vogue armor. All you need to do is farm spoils from, say, Insurrection Prime, load up a Master Atheon checkpoint or just an Atheon checkpoint if it's featured, then buy the tier 5 armor at the end. If you have max spoils, you can buy 6 armor pieces and then just pray that you get the stat distribution that you like. Speaking of stat distribution, 200 weapons. That's it. Nothing else matters. Grenade, super, whatever. Doesn't matter. Just go 200 weapons. This is going to improve our heavy weapon damage by 10% versus bosses, which is the maximum in PvE. So we're going to get 10% more damage on our Leviathan's Breath. So just as a quick demo of the Vogue set, I want you to pay attention to the left side of my screen because currently I do not have any armor charge and I'm on an arc class here, not Void. Doesn't matter. I just wanted to show you how this works. Basically, I'm going to give myself a subclass effect, which in this case is amplified, and I'm going to shoot 1, then 2, then 3. Then I've already generated an Orb of Power. So after 3 shots of shooting Leviathan's Breath, I have given myself an armor charge. And this is happening all the time in the background. It's something you don't even have to think about. The orb itself spawns at your feet, so you don't have to run to pick it up or anything. It doesn't spawn at the enemy. It's not like attrition orbs. It literally just spawns on top of you. So like I said, no thinking required. You are going to get that upkeep of surges, Argent Quiver, so on and so on, so very easily with this. It is a great 4-piece to have, and I seriously encourage it. We are going to talk a lot more about the Vogue 4-piece throughout the rest of the video as well. It's going to be a very central recurring theme. Okay, lastly, before we get into the demo and the clips of the rotation, you are going to want to have a Void Loader or as many Void Loaders as you can physically fit on your armor for this rotation to work, because you want to be able to reload your Leviathan's Breath the fastest, which means you want to maximize the reload speed of it. And what would you know? The reload speed of Leviathan's Breath, if I hide my camera here, is it's 0. Take a look at that. We have 0 reload speed. So if there's a way that you can improve that, which you should. Triple void loaders on here. And the other way to improve your reload speed to 100 actually is to have a Warlock on your team place a Lunafaction Well of Radiance, which is actually what you're going to see in the clip that I will play of the full optimized rotation, because that's going to give 100 reload speed. Then we also get the reload multipliers from the void loaders on our gloves, which is going to let us shoot our Leviathan's breath the fastest. But as far as the rotation is concerned, you saw it at the beginning. All I need to do is just kickstart myself here with a few orbs, which you will get from somebody's Well of Radiance, for example. And another cool thing about the Vogue set is that if you're using the orb devour fragment on void, it will keep your devour up through the damage phase, which is pretty cool. But anyway, all we do is fire off the tether, not at the boss, and just shoot the bow. And we should be able to get a good chunk of our reserves off. Because I don't have 100 reload speed here, it won't be all of them, but you will see in the upcoming clip that it will be all of them. But this is it. Just shoot the bow, and we're already doing 5.3. This is without a 30% debuff. This is without a boost to the assembler well. It's already 5,000 DPS just for shooting my goddamn bow. So if you want a very easy hunter DPS option, go with this one. But optimal clip, let's take a look. As soon as you see me stop shooting, Drew, just let go of the div.
I
mean, you don't have to be in the well with us.
That's true.
Get in my well. Done. Sheesh. What was that? 11.5 on the big board and 10.5 on my board. 10.5. 200 total. So like I was just saying before the clip played, 10k DPS and around 200k total. It's never been easier than simply just shooting a bow. It does require just a small bit of setup, like I said, with the Lunafaction Rift, void loaders, and then making sure you have the right artifact perks on. But this is seriously such an easy way to deal a ton of damage on Hunter. And if there is a boss that allows for this rotation, you ought to be using it really, because it's just very, very good. In terms of pros and cons, it's obviously very good for DPS phases. Longer boss fights, I wouldn't say so, because the total damage ceiling is a lot lower compared to some other options. It is definitely more of a DPS specialty, but unless you're doing something like a Cutthroat Pantheon or a Cutthroat Desert Perpetual Equilibrium, whatever like that, it's not really going to matter that much. So just use the bow and profit. Moving on to rotation number 2, we have the classic Still Hunt rocket from back in the final shape. Every season, it feels like there's a new variation of this rotation, and there is once again a new one here in the Monument of Triumph update, and it is still very, very good. We're going to be on Prismatic here, and it is essentially going to be enabling our Still Hunt and Rocket as much as possible, cycling between them and just dealing a ton of damage in the process. So let's take it piece by piece. What is the Rocket? We are using the Hezen Vengeance. This is from the Vault of Glass, and actually with the release of Monument of Triumph, it got a small perk update where they now gave it access to Aggregate Charge, which is a very solid damage buff. This improves the damage of the weapon by 33% at max stacks, and all it needs is 3 elemental debuffs applied to a target. You can get those from simply applying Tractor Cannon, which applies Weaken and Suppress, and then making sure he has a Strand debuff on him like Unravel, and then you've ticked all 3 boxes, so you'll always have the maximum percentage buff on Aggregate Charge for this. I've also crafted mine with Autoloading Holster on Impact Casing and Quick Launch on here, but this is piece number 1. You want a Hezen Vengeance with a good damage perk, i.e. Aggregate Charge. Still Hunt, of course, you don't need the Catalyst, because even though I have it, I haven't completed it. The Catalyst is Lucky Shot. Reloading after a Precision Final Blow causes precision hits to refill around from reserves. So despite it being an ammo refill perk like we all wanted, it's not actually the way we wanted it, because it requires a kill. So you don't need the Catalyst here. It's not essential. It's not relevant for the rotation any bit. And I also have a Strand weapon in my top slot, because that's going to be relevant for the artifact that we'll talk about in just a moment. But essentially, the rotation is cycling between Still Hunt and the Rocket over and over again. And we're also going to be pairing this with Celestial Nighthawk, because if you might remember from last season, a very good damage setup was actually starting with a Celestial Nighthawk and a Celestial Still Hunt into Uncivil Discourse Lucky Pants. But as we all know, Lucky Pants has been completely gutted. It is very, very bad now, and there are just other options that are so much better after the nerf it received in the Monument of Triumph update. So RIP Lucky Pants, you had a good run, but at least now, if we're using Celestial Nighthawk, we don't have to swap off this loadout anymore. You can just stay on it the whole time, which does cause our stats to be slightly different actually, because we want to maximize the damage of our super now, which in this case is going to be the Marksman Golden Gun, 1. So we are going with 150 super, and then if on the helmet we have 3 super fonts, this will boost us all the way to 200 super when we have armor charges on our character. I've also gone for 195 weapons here. You can actually get this to 200. It's just that my armor is not perfect and I still need to farm some better armor. So I would prefer to have 200 and some better allocations here as well. I would also like to have no health stat whatsoever, because screw the health stat, am I right? But this is also very good. 195 weapon, 150 super. And again, we are using the Vault of Glass armor set. Like I said, this is going to be a reoccurring theme because Still Hunt. Still Hunt is charged, number 1, from precision hits, but also from orbs of power. Collecting orbs will charge your Still Hunt. As you can see here, if I go all the way over to this orb thing, take a look in the bottom left, my Cade's Retribution is charging from the orbs that I collect from the orb shower over here. Yes, our main way of charging Still Hunt is going to be via precision hits, but because we have the Vogue set on, we are going to get just a little bit of extra charge over time when we deal damage. You're not going to notice, it's just going to happen in the background, and it's a great boost for the build as well. And much like the Void build, it's also going to upkeep our Surges and the Argent mods, which we're using for the build. These being, or the main one being, Argent Ordnance. This one is going to improve the damage of our rockets whenever we're holding armor charge. It's going to consume 1 armor charge, but we're going to get armor charge back because we have the Vogue set. Again, this is a 15% buff, just like Argent Quiver from before, and we have a lot of other great artifact perks which we can take here. This is going to be on the Queen's Foil sensor. The first one is going to be Heart of the Flame. This one is going to make it so casting your Solar Super grants nearby allies Radiant and increases the damage of your super for each nearby ally. And with 6 allies or 5 other people near you, this goes up to around 15% extra super damage, so our Golden Gun is now going to hit even harder than it was before. I've also gone for Unraveling Orbs here, and this is paired with Horde Shuttle, because Horde Shuttle states damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling. Threadlings sever targets that they damage, so we're going to have access to Threadlings if we deal damage to unraveled targets, which we will with Unraveling Orbs, because we have a Strand weapon here, and those Threadlings are going to apply Sever to the boss, which is great for reducing the damage output it deals, so it's better for the team, especially if you're doing something like a cutthroat activity. And then lastly, the 2 sort of quality of life perks we have here. Kindling Trigger. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch, so now our Still Hunt is going to apply Scorch whenever we deal damage with it. And we have Fever and Chill. Rapid precision hits with solar weapons grant Radiant, so great for Radiant upkeep. It's not going to matter in a team scenario, but if you're solo, this is just a nice perk to have on top. But the main one by far is going to be Argent Ordnance. You could substitute Hezen Vengeance for the Heavy Sniper if you wanted, and then swap the artifact to either the Encrypted Data Disk or the Hunter's Journal, because both of those have Sniper's Meditation, but I have found that it is just more fun to use a rocket, sort of put the Heavy Sniper to the side, and you get a lot of damage out of Hezen Vengeance with Argent Ordnance, trust me, so this is basically the way to go with this setup. Now, this rotation is definitely the most mechanically complex out of all of them that you'll see today. Maybe the next one is a bit of a contender for that, but it's basically lots of swapping, lots of knowing when to reload your Still Hunt and so on, but I'll do my best to give you a live example. So I'm going to start by Unraveling Carl, which is going to activate Horde Shuttle later on, and I'm going to go Still Hunt, cancel Transcendence for style points, debuff Nade, go into Super, into Transcendence here, I'm going to go 1 rocket, 2 rocket, Marksman Dodge, 2 more rockets here, then debuff Nade, and I'm going to charge the rest of my Still Hunt while trying to hit my crits. There we go. I'm going to 1, 2, manual reload here because we don't have a holster. I'm going to shoot 2 more rockets here. Again, holding reload on my Still Hunt so that it activates the Cade's Retribution instantly. I'm going to go here, bang, 2 rockets again. Marksman Dodge to reload the last rocket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, boom. Oh, we got a first try. Look at that. Wonderful. It's around 4k DPS, around 180,000 total damage, and that's without being with a 30% debuff and without having a Boots of the Assembler Rift. And, well, speaking of, let's see how much the optimal setup actually improves it. You. Bang. Bang. Max aggregate charge. Still Hunt here. 1, 2, reload. Rocket. Rocket. Wombo. Next Still Hunt. Nade. Oh, there we go. This is it. 1, 2, 3. There we go. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. 7k, 268. Nice. So, as you can see, this rotation is seriously cooking. It's doing a lot of damage, provided you have the setup to go with it. The only reason I had a div in the clip there is because Carl bounces around a lot, especially with this rotation, with the rockets, with the unravel, with everything. So, in a realistic boss fight, say Insurrection Prime, for example, his head box doesn't move a lot, so you'll be able to hit it no problem without a div. But yeah, this is just a really solid rotation. Still Hunt Rocket has always been very good, and now that we actually have access to artifact perks that boost the damage of our rocket, and snipers too, if you decide to go with a heavy sniper angle with either the Hunter's Journal or the encrypted data disk, very, very good on top of that. Nighthawk, one of the strongest one-off supers in the game. It also has infinite range, and of course, the Vogue set being as goated as it is going to help again massively with this build. Also, I just realized I didn't show the armor pieces for the previous build, but actually, it didn't really matter that much because you just need to get 200 weapons. Powerhouse archetypes is what's going to get you there, but for this one in particular, where you want 150 super and 200 weapons, my class is a powerhouse with a tertiary stat in class and tuning in weapons. My boots are powerhouse with a tertiary stat in melee and a tuning in class. This should be a tuning in weapons, really. Chest piece is powerhouse with a tertiary stat in class and tuning in weapons. Gauntlets are powerhouse with a tertiary stat in health, should be class or should be grenade, melee, whatever, but it's got a tuning in weapons. Then finally, my Celestial Nighthawk is also a powerhouse with a tertiary stat in class and tuning in weapons. Powerhouse is your best friend for all of these damage builds. Just make sure you have that on your Ghost and you will eventually get the good pieces that you need for this. And by the way, I will have the dim links to all of these builds in the description box below. So when it comes to things like subclass specifics, which I'm not really talking about that much because they don't actually matter too much, these will all be down in those dim links, so don't worry about that. Okay, so now we are moving on to the final rotation that I wanted to show you here today, and this is something that I've been refining and honing over the past couple weeks or so. Mainly that's why this video has taken a little bit longer to release, and that is going to be the double aggressive shotgun Parasite Blade Barrage Speed Loader Slacks rotation. Now this is probably my favorite damage rotation of all time. It is so much fun to do, and it leverages so many of these cool new abilities and perks that we now have access to in Monument of Triumph to produce a damage rotation that deals a ton of damage, has a load of total damage as well. It's just that it's a bit more specialized, somewhat difficult to pull off, and it doesn't work on every single boss, but on the ones that it does, it's very, very good. So one by one, aggressive shotguns. Why are we using two of them? Well, number one, aggressive shotguns got a buff in the Monument of Triumph update. They got, I believe, a 15% buff across the board in PvE, so they are hitting harder. And also, we got updated perks to some of the better aggressive shotguns. Found Verdict here from Vault of Glass now has access to the double damage perk combo of Aggregate Charge and Elemental Honing, which if you put these two together is going to improve the damage by quite a lot. It also has access to Assault Mag, so if this is something you want to craft for yourself, make sure you copy this. Assault Mag, Aggregate Charge, Elemental Honing. And then also, with us having access to the encrypted data disk, I've gone for an Astral Horizon here from Trials of Osiris. This one, again, also has Assault Mag, but this time we have All Star. Now, All Star is a damage perk that makes it so collecting ammo reloads the weapon, number one, and it also improves the damage of it for around 7 seconds by 35% when you collect ammo. And it is a kinetic weapon, and that's important because on the encrypted data disk, we have kinetic synthesis. Sustained kinetic weapon damage and rapid final blows have a chance to generate a unique ammo brick. Collecting this brick will grant ammo to equipped kinetic damage weapons and grant special and heavy ammo progress. If I go up to Carl here and I shoot him with my Astral Horizon, after enough shots, he will make a kinetic brick. And collecting this kinetic brick, if I shoot off a couple shots here, will number one, reload my weapon and activate All Star. And now I'm dealing 35% more damage to Carl, and I'm still making bricks, and I can refresh the timer of my buff with every brick that I create. So it's basically 1 brick per magazine, and the more damage you are dealing, the faster that these bricks spawn, I'm pretty sure. So if you had, the full buff and debuff stack going, you're going to be making a ton of these, so you'll basically never run out of Astral Horizon ammo. The only problem is that, yes, you do need to play Trials of Osiris to get this shotgun, but with the focusing system over here, it shouldn't be too bad because you can just attune to it, and hopefully you get the drops that you need. Like I mentioned, my god roll would have to be Assault Mag. You can go Threat Detector for bonus handling, which is going to help actually, and then All Star because this is the highest damage buff and it works the best with the rotation. Next up, Parasite. As you might see, we have a gold border around our Parasite, and that is because we have the Parasite Catalyst now, which is Envious Arsenal. Dealing damage with both other weapons before readying this weapon refills it from reserves. So if you can think of a flow, it is basically like the old double slug rotation of old back from Beyond Light, but this time with aggressive shotguns and with a Parasite instead of an Anarchy. So if you can imagine, all I need to do here is I can go Parasite, I can do a dodge, and then I'll go shotgun, shotgun, Parasite, because it's reloaded because of Envious Arsenal. Shotgun, shotgun, Parasite. And then I can do my dodge here again, which is Crack Shot, by the way. Parasite, shotgun, shotgun, Parasite, shotgun, shotgun, Parasite, dodge, reload, Parasite. That is the basis of it. There is more that goes into it. We'll go into the demo again in a moment. But that is why Parasite fits very well here, because of the Envious Arsenal Catalyst lets it reload itself. And another cool thing about Parasite is that it has the Worm byproduct buff. Taking damage from your own worm projectile detonation empowers your weapons for a short time. Now this is a 15% buff, but it is a 15% unique buff. And in Destiny 2, there are very few unique buffs, but basically they are called unique because they stack with everything else. So if you have a Well of Radiance, an Attractor Cannon, and a unique buff like Worm byproducts, that is going to stack multiplicatively on top of both of those two things. So it's not going to be overridden by Well or Tractor, it's just going to be added on top. So it's basically improving the damage ceiling even more. And like I said, this is a 15% damage buff to your other weapons. So now both of your primary and secondary shotguns are going to be dealing 15% more damage. Another key part of the rotation is the brand new crack shot aspect. This is the one that lets you basically use your class ability to shoot off 3 mini golden gun shots that can reload your weapon with a specific exotic that we are using, and it deals a little bit of damage. And this is actually scaled by your class stat as well. So I have 130 class stat here, which means that my crack shot is going to deal a little bit more damage, but it's going to be dealing actually the max amount of damage if you're in a team, because fun fact, if you are in a Boots of the Assembler well or rift, the noble seekers that hit you, they grant you plus 100 class stat. So if you have 100 base, you're going to go up to 200 whenever you have Blessing of the Sky, which is going to max out the damage of your crack shot anyway. I just thought I'd go for 130 here because it looks clean, pretty clean looking stats here if you ask me. But how do we get our crack shot back the fastest? And that's going to lead us nicely into our exotic of choice for this build, which is going to be Speed Loader Slacks. Now this one has a bit of a long-winded description, but the best way that I can describe it is dealing damage gives you class ability energy. That's it. So if I go Parasite into crack shot into another Parasite, if I do 2 shotguns here, then another Parasite and 2 shotguns here, I have my crack shot back. It's that simple. You just need to do a couple cycles of the rotation and you already have your class ability back. And then I can activate it again to refresh tight fit. And I can just keep kind of going back and forth. Shotgun, shotgun, Parasite, crack shot, Parasite, shotgun, shotgun, Parasite, shotgun, shotgun, Parasite, crack shot, back and forth, back and forth. That's the main idea of the rotation. We are also being helped by a couple fragments on here. The first is Ember of Singeing on Solar Hunter. Your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. And the nice part about Crackshot is that it does apply Scorch when you shoot targets with it. So it's basically feeding into itself. As you can see, it's recharged about half of it already simply for just firing it off. Then Ember of Benevolence. This is only going to apply when you are in a team setting, but applying Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to allies grants increased grenade, melee, and class ability regeneration. And what are we using? We are using Acrobat Dodge, which does work with the crack shot. I'm going to become Radiant when I activate my crack shot, and it also applies to teammates as well, which is going to apply Ember of Benevolence. So we're going to get our crack shot back even quicker than before, which is amazing. There's so much cool synergy going on with this build. I love it, I love it, I love it. And lastly, you probably already guessed it, but we are going to be using Blade Barrage on this build. But it's a bit techie. It's a bit techie because we're going to be basically loadout swapping. The first loadout is going to have Shards of Galanor on it because when I use my Shards of Galanor on a boss, I'm going to get half of my Blade Barrage back. Then we are going to swap to our Speed Loader Slacks loadout, do our damage rotation, and by the time the damage rotation is done, hopefully we will get our next Blade Barrage back. And the way we are doing that is by having 3 dynamo mods on our helmet, which are going to make it so it reduces super cooldown when using your class ability near targets. So whenever we crack shot the boss that is near us, we're going to get some super energy. Then I also have a single distribution mod on my class item, which will again give similar effects. Reduces all ability cooldowns when using your class ability near targets. I believe this counts for super as well. Dynamo is more impactful, but just have a distribution too. And then what do you know? 4-piece Vogue. This is here to upkeep surges, of course. Just very good. No particular sort of Argent mod, unfortunately, for shotguns, but it's just a Vogue set. It's goated. Just use it. 200 weapon stat, by the way. Super investment doesn't really matter here. You just want the max of 100 because that is the most amount that you will get from regen sources. And then, like I mentioned, if you have a base of 100 class, then you will get to 200 if you are in a group with somebody using a Boost of the Assembler Well of Radiance. Artifact-wise, outside of kinetic synthesis, there is nothing really that helps. This is just here for the damage boost to Astral Horizon. Nothing else matters. Maybe Kinetic Rupture, but I don't find myself intentionally shooting the Kinetic Ruptures anyway. It's literally just Kinetic Synthesis that is what you need. My helmet is Specialist with a tertiary stat in Grenade and a tuning in weapons. My gauntlets are Specialist with a tertiary stat in Super and a tuning in weapons. Chest piece, Powerhouse with a tertiary stat in Class and a tuning in weapons. Speed Loader Slacks are Specialist with a tertiary stat in Super and a tuning in weapons. And then finally, my class item is Powerhouse with a tertiary stat in Class and a tuning in weapons. This this is the perfect armor set. Grinded quite a lot of Atheon and Insurrection Prime hours for this. It paid off. I got a nice looking distribution here. So now, as a demo of the rotation, we are going to start with a times 20 Parasite, by the way, which I would recommend you to do because it's just basically going to make it so 1 Parasite is equivalent to 3 Parasites. And we're going to do some damage swap shenanigans. So first of all, I'm going to shoot with a stasis weapon to activate a single honing stack on my elemental honing shotgun. Then we have on this loadout limit break on the Tablet of Ruin, which is going to improve my super damage by 15%. So I'm going to go give myself a solar buff, go into Blade Barrage, then swap to speed loader slacks here. Then I'm going to go Parasite into Crack Shot, into Parasite, 1, 2, Parasite, 1, 2, Parasite, 1, 2, Parasite, Crack Shots, 1, 2, Parasite, 1, 2, Parasite, Crack Shots, 1, 2, Parasite, 1, 2, Parasite here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Check my super, it's almost fully charged. 1 more Crack Shot will do it. There we go. Then back to this loadout. Then we use the Blade Barrage, and there we go. It's less DPS, obviously, because I don't have access to a debuff or the Boost of the Assembler stuff going on, but it's very good. Maybe a little bit tricky to pull off, but with a bit of practice, I think you can definitely get there. So let's see the rotation in full optimal conditions and check back in just a moment. Oh, there we go, baby. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, it is a very, very solid rotation. It might not be the best compared to something like the Void Bow rotation with regards to DPS, but it does have the most total out of all of these rotations today, I think, anyway. I just think it's such a cool rotation, and I wanted to show you guys, maybe even though it is not the most practical, I still wanted to show you an example using a new catalyst, a new ability, buffed abilities, buffed weapons, artifact shenanigans. It's just so much fun to do, and I would recommend learning it because, you know, what else are you going to do? Game's end of service now, so might as well learn some cool stuff. And it does a lot of damage. In terms of applicable bosses, this works on any close range boss that doesn't really move around too much. It's great for bosses like Korgos, both variants from the epic and normal Desert Perpetual raids. Iotros as well from those raids too. I can think that it would work pretty well on Taniks, War Priest as well if you're deciding to get very close. But in general, a very fun setup that deals a ton of damage and is just very satisfying to pull off as well. But that is going to do it for the DPS breakdown for the Hunters. I hope you enjoyed every single rotation that we showed here today. I do hope that you go away and try learning some of them, especially the Parasite one, if you happen to have the Parasite Catalyst. But like I said at the very beginning of the video, the main takeaway from today is that Hunters are the DPS class. They are the strongest for DPS because they have the strongest exotics and strongest abilities as well. And if you aren't necessarily bothered to be doing these fancy rotations, if you just want to deal good damage, just use something like Blade Barrage with Shards of Galanor, Celestial Nighthawk with Golden Gun, plus either Truth or 1000 Voices. But if you want to take it a little bit higher, go with something like the Parasite rotation, go with something like the Still Hunt plus Rocket, or go with the Void Bow because they are overall just better in general than holding down Mouse 1 with an exotic heavy. Well, I guess that is what you're doing with the Void Hunter build, but there's maybe a little bit more that goes into it. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed the video, everybody, and I will see you next time for the Titan one whenever that comes out. But don't worry, it will come out. I will be finishing the series. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will catch you in the next one. Dim links in the description, by the way. Dim links in the description. Bye now. Bye, bye, bye.